Once again, I know that people are inevitably sick of me talking about these things, but I just can't find it in my soul and my heart not to continue to talk about these things. Hey y'all, it's Ashley Bookishrealm and I'm back with another news update. I am not a news-based channel, but it just seems like because it is intertwining into what we do in terms of literature here on this platform, I find myself feeling like I'm reporting news. And so here we are. I had seen this come up in the past couple of weeks, and I decided ultimately that I did want to talk about it a little bit because I wasn't sure how many people were aware that this was happening. And I think that I am just in the vein of mind that the more that we share about these things, the more people become aware and can actively do the things that they can do to push back against this time of a culture war that is hurting children, in my opinion, more than helping them. So if you did not know, in about June of this year, a Cobb County teacher was fired from her position because she decided to read a book by an Australian creator that is a picture book that is titled My Shadow is Purple. Now, I am familiar with this creator, and I think that they are using some interesting allegories to talk about identity and representation and discovering who you are and really empowering kids to feel as though it's okay to be themselves. From what I've seen from this creator, that is the messaging behind the book. So this picture book is a book about a character that notices that their mother's shadow is pink, their father's shadow is blue, and yet their shadow is purple, not necessarily identifying with either or feeling similar to their parents. Which, of course, as an adult reading this, it's clearly an allegory for someone who may identify as non-binary. Now, the teacher read this as a means to help students feel empowered about their identity, helping them realize that it's okay to be different, and being different, there's nothing wrong with it. And if being yourself means that you are different than what society deems as correct, then that's okay. And unfortunately, people were upset and felt like she was playing into politics. And so the district gave her the option to either resign or to be fired. She refused to resign, which kudos to you, power to you. I'm glad that you stood your ground and that you didn't allow them to bully you into resigning. And she was fired. As a result of her firing, there was a tribunal of, I believe, retired teachers who got together and made the decision that even though she broke district policy, which the district policy is weird. It's basically that teachers are not supposed to teach about controversial subjects. Now, that district policy blows my mind because when did someone's identity become controversial? When did someone's existence become a controversy? I can't imagine being a kid growing up in this time. I feel like we have made 5 steps forward and 555 steps backwards at this point, because how can a kid trying to figure out their identity or feeling like I don't fit into the stereotypical gender roles, why is that controversial? I don't know how someone's mere existence is controversial. And so for me, I struggle with that so much internally because I feel like we are now playing party politics because this is a way for people to have a sense of control, to dictate what people can and cannot be, how people can and cannot identify. And they're using this, in my opinion, as a way to shelter and protect children. Protect them from what? What are you protecting them for? If anything, if there is a kid that identifies as non-binary and this is the message you're sending to them, I can't imagine the amount of stress that some of these kids are under, not being able to be comfortable in their own skin, having to live in a society that already wasn't very welcoming, but now is showing the ugliest parts of itself. And so that's what bothers me the most, is that this is all done under the guise of protecting children. Has anyone asked these kids how they feel? Has anyone asked these kids, like, how is this impacting you? How is this making you feel? Because in the reality of things, you're saying this is protecting children, but we don't work or function in a silo in society. Some of you try to, which I think is ultimately fascinating, but most of you have to understand at some point you're going to encounter people that are different from you, whether that is race, whether that is ability, whether that's body size, whether that's gender, sexuality, religion. Like, so I'm confused. So how do you expect these children to be able to function? Because what ends up happening, because you don't prepare them to be able to function, they get into society and they're completely confused. They become narrow-minded. Some of them will become bigoted, and they have no idea because of your protection. They don't know how to interact with people who are different from them. And unfortunately for some of you, you have to think at some point that, what is the likelihood that you're never going to work with someone who has a different gender identity, sexual orientation, a different race? I mean, at this point, you are functioning as though you want all of us to live in factions. This is looking very divergent. If I want to keep it $1.50, it's looking very divergent. It's not, you want us to live in this weird alternate dystopia that makes absolutely no freaking sense. So, as a result of the tribunal, they said that, of course, she did break district policy, but she shouldn't be fired for her actions. Well, the school board voted on party lines, which should tell you a lot. And that's the thing that I think some people are not understanding. This has become a political issue. I don't understand why someone's identity, or reading a book about teaching kids that it's okay to be yourself, is inappropriate or a political issue. There's no way, and I'm sorry, usually I'm open to dialoguing about certain things, but I just don't, there's a part of me that just can't grasp this idea that someone existing is a political issue. I can't fathom, I can't comprehend that idea. I don't get it, that someone's mere existence is a problem. I don't know when we became a society that's so concerned about what someone else is doing, how someone else identifies, but yet when it comes to actually assisting these children, protecting these children, y'all are mum, right? Because let's talk about the quote unquote well-being of children. Let's talk about how many parents need assistance in raising their children, and how you have set up a system that you have to be literally making nothing in order to get any type of assistance. It's not easy getting on government assistance in this country, although some people like to make it seem as though it is. It's not. And so when we're talking about the health of a child, the food, the access to food for a child, we talk about daycare, we talk about gas prices. Like, what are we doing there? What is being fixed there? Because those are the things that will definitely impact a child. Not a picture book about being yourself. But here we are with kids who still have food insecurity, housing insecurity, mental health issues out the wazoo, because a lot of these babies still haven't gotten the assistance that they needed from the pandemic lockdown. You have kids who are not on par for reading level. You have people in millions of debt trying to get an education, trying to get a piece of paper that says that they're qualified to do anything in this country, which you still get pennies for it. You could barely pay for groceries. Gas is out the wazoo. Goodness gracious, if you have a child that's in daycare at the end of the day, and a good daycare, it's another mortgage payment. So what are you really doing? You're worried about a picture book, but yet you have all these other factors on the side where you're not doing the basic minimum things to make sure that these kids are well fed, nourished, that they have clothes on their back, that there's a roof over their head, that they're getting an adequate education. You're worried about a picture book, and half of these babies can't even read. Pick a true battle. Because a picture book ain't it. A picture book about being yourself ain't it. And the fact that this decision was made amongst party lines says everything that I need to know. It says everything that I need to know. Teachers are not safe right now. School librarians are not safe right now. Public librarians, not safe right now. I don't know how much worse this is going to get, but it bothers me because I think a naive part of me, a very gullible part of me, is like, okay, you know what? We're going to wake up and this is just going to go away. They're going to find something else. They're going to be interested in something else. Like, this is just not, you know, like, and I know that's not true, but I think a strong part of me wants it to be true so badly that I go to sleep sometimes thinking like, this is just a fever dream. Like, this is not going to continue to go down this spiraling hellhole that it's going down. And I know people are like, well, why do you keep talking about it? That's all you talk about. Because if I don't talk about it, if I don't use my platform for something that I think is important, like, what am I doing here? Like, what am I doing? I can't say that I am about people reading and having access and being able to, you know, find empowerment in books and like not speak on these things. Like, that it works in contrast of each other. I just don't know. I don't really know anymore. I think at this point, like, it's going to come down to people understanding that your local elections is where it's at. Okay. I know we have a presidential election coming up. I know that debates are already happening. They're, you know, trying to figure out who the Republican nominee is going to be. I don't even want to get into that foolery here, but y'all, if you live in the United States and you're of voting age, please, 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 if you don't like what's going on, get involved in your local politics. Okay, you have the power to change all of this. I've said it in live shows and I'll say it again. These people work for us. We are HR. We are their employers. And half of them are not doing the basic minimum requirements of their job descriptions. It's time to fire them. Get rid of them. As a parent, I am nervous because I'm telling you, I will not stand for any of this foolishness when my child starts grade school. I can't, I won't, and I will be that parent. I will be that parent that will show my entire ass. It is a thing to determine what is appropriate for your child. I don't think a book about a shadow and identity and how we feel is harmful. And I know there are parents who disagree and feel like it's an agenda and their kids are being indoctrinated. I'm trying to be understanding, but I don't think that it was worthy of her losing her job. If there's a parent complaint and it's like, okay, let's not do this again because this parent doesn't feel comfortable with it, it won't happen again, understandable. But firing her over a picture book, like, come on, y'all. Like, come on. And then the whole idea, it's not book banning. We're just trying, it's our right to determine what is okay for our children or is not okay for our children. That's right. It is your job to parent your child. It's your job to parent your child. If you're not wiping my child's backside, if you're not clothing her, if you're not feeding her, if you're not paying my mortgage, if you're not paying my daycare bills, if you're not putting gas in my car, if you're not paying for my groceries, my light bill, my water bill, any entertainment, any after school extracurriculars for my child, guess what? You don't get to determine what she can and cannot read. It's not your business because you don't pay for anything else. You're not here to parent my child any other moment in her life. You don't get to determine what she can and cannot read. But until people start taking their local election seriously, and I know for some of you, it's out of your hands because you just live in areas where it's just, you just can't. You're outnumbered. But I know that there's some areas where people can change the tides if they understood the power of local elections. And until that happens, until you start making, until we, I don't want to say you, until we start shifting these school boards, we start determining who can and cannot sit on these school boards, until we start determining who, you know, should be running our county or city councils. Until we start doing that, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to get better, because this is political games. And I feel like the adults are so wrong right now. And it's so unfortunate, because I feel like these kids are in a tug of war between divorced parents. And when parents do that to a child, the only person who ends up losing is that child. They end up paying the big price for adults who can't behave themselves like adults. These babies are getting caught up in something that should have nothing to do with them. And it's so unfortunate, because I can't imagine, for some of them, the amount of deconstructing that they're going to have to do after all of this, when they get into the real world and they realize, like, oh my gosh, everything I've ever been taught has just been so wrong. That's going to be painful for them. And that sucks. So that's all I have to say. I'm just very angry. Very, very angry. And I'm going to keep talking about this at this point. So if there's anyone who's like, I don't want to see these videos, just don't watch them. Skip them. Because I have to keep talking. Because it's besides dealing with my own local government, which, honey, they go hate me when it's all said and done. I have to. I have the platform, I have to use it. So I just wanted to share that. Get angry, get riled up, and vote. Vote. Change things with your vote, you know? Alright, y'all, that's it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button and the bell for notifications. If you're looking to follow me on social media or support the channel anyway, all the links will be down in the description box below. And I'll be back with another video soon. Hopefully one that's on a more positive note, but yeah. Alright, y'all.
I'm on my own, broken and alone. I feel the rain crashing down. All